What's up, everybody? If you that don't know me, my name is Chris, aka Mr. Grow It, and welcome to my talk channel. This is episode 3 of 4 on the Happy Hour podcast. This podcast was actually posted on a different YouTube channel. That YouTube channel no longer exists, but I figured I would upload this podcast to this channel because there's a lot of good information within these episodes. In this episode, I talk with BeastCoastFarmers. He is pretty big on Instagram. He is an outdoor grower. He does no-till living organics. Those are two highly requested things for this channel, outdoor growing and no-till living organics. And BeastCoastFarmers, he has a ton of information when it comes to this. He's more on the commercial side of things. He's managing hundreds of plants. However, nearly all of this information can be applied to home growing. So if you're a home grower, this is definitely a good podcast to listen to if you're either doing organics or looking to get into organics. I do actually have video on this episode. It may not be the best quality, but I do have video. The last couple episodes didn't have any video, so this is an improvement, right? But enough of me rambling on. Let's just get into the episode.
Hey everybody, we got BeastCoastFarmers here. How you doing, man?
Good. Not too bad.
We got Mr. Grow It here too. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good. Another day in paradise.
Another day, another dollar. We're pretty stoked to have BeastCoastFarmers on here today. I've followed his Instagram for a while. His Instagram is BeastCoastFarmers. So yeah, man, we're just gonna ask you some questions about your growing style and go from there.
Word.
Mr. Grow It, I know you have some questions for him first, so
I'll kick it off. Yeah, I'll kick it off this time. All right, so tell us, how did everything start with cannabis? How did you get into cannabis? And then also talk about how you started growing, how you got into growing.
Well, my growing came right after I like the same season that I had smoked for the first time. I had started growing that same season because there's seeds in my blood. But I have an older brother. He's 4 years older than me, and so when I was 10 years old, he's 14, and he was starting to smoke around then, and so I was blazing with him when I was 10. So like he threw away a lot. He threw away the seeds that he had taken out of the bud, and I had remembered that those seeds were in the trash, and I went through the trash and took them out, and it was actually like right in summertime. It was like the end of June. And I just, germinated. I looked up online, dude, straight up germinated those seeds and put them outside, and just started growing right from there, right after 10. And right every season after that, I was able to get plants either vegged inside, start them outside that season because I didn't have anywhere to grow indoors at the time. But every season after that, I had an outdoor crop, and coming all the way until now. But the more I looked it up online and stuff and saw others doing it, and saw this industry coming forward, and I knew that it was going to be legit, not just for a job market, and that's why I like put my heart into it, kind of.
So your very first grow, let's talk a little bit more about that, because that's usually painful for people, right? Your very first grow, you said you used basically bag seed, basically, and you grew outside.
I grabbed like I grabbed Miracle Grow soil, and just straight up just started doing trial and error. Like before they were out, were put outside. They were in a cardboard box. They had like some CFLs in it. I made like a small exhaust and intake, dude. Like this is all when I was like 10 years old. So
what?
And it was in my closet. And then my mom finds it, and my mom's like, get these plants out of the house, for sure. And then right the day after that, like I already put them right outside. So like, yeah, that's what kind of started my outdoor growing. Like I was like, in the beginning, dude, I was all about chems. It's funny, like hydroponics, chems, and growing indoor, completely sterile. My organic side just kind of like came from just keep on growing outdoor every single season. Just and like you're saying, some people's first grows are absolutely terrible and stuff. But like mine wasn't too bad in the beginning. I've had some terrible shit happen indoor, but I had a lot of that trial and error when I was a little kid, like learning like drainage and just, proper like weight, how much you should water a plant and stuff like that.
Did you run into like bugs and stuff outside when you first started? Like,
yeah,
how did you deal with that stuff
I
here?
was right about to mention that. Like I have never seen a spider mite in my outdoor garden ever in all my years of growing. And I've gone to other places not far from my area, and I've seen infestations and shit. So it kind of like it's pretty funny to think about. But I also have like right next to me cranberry bogs, so they also spray pesticides. So that's just one thing I think that's been keeping them at bay all these years. Maybe the cranberry bog pesticides that they spray.
Got you.
Yeah, I haven't seen shit. Like I have problems with
like potato bugs ever?
Nope. Inchworms. Like there's the tomato beetles too, and then those corn boring worm boring corn worms. They like bore into the stem, and like they'll leave like a small hole. Looks like somebody took a drill, and it'll look like some sawdust is coming out of it. And what they're doing is like just eating up the stem, and then just like taking that stuff and shoving it out their hole. And those are a bitch, dude. Fucking.
What are you using for pesticides then?
Basically, it's like it's a I use a fungicide. Like I've been using Serenade for a long time, and that's a biofungicide. That's just for like insects and shit, it's usually like just part of my IPM management. Like I'll just be like spraying them, especially after a rainstorm, because a rainstorm will wash off any beneficial bacteria and yeast that's on your plant, that's on the leaf surface. So like after rain, you'll do IPM or foliar. And usually what I use is for my foliar or IPM, neem oil. I emulsify neem oil with yucca. So like I also warm the water first, so I have a little bit of warm water, and then mix my neem and then yucca into that.
And that's what emulsifying means?
Yeah, emulsify is helping an oil go into solution, and
okay.
is like really good for that. You can also use potassium silicate, AgSil16. That stuff is a really good emulsifier, but it's just good for also using that silica will raise the pH of your leaf surface, so that will prevent mold. And also by using that neem oil and coating it, also aloe vera, so aloe vera and neem oil, those two things will coat your leaves and your plant, and it'll actually make it so like insects don't like to eat it. So if you have it on there before before these insects even come, then they won't even like to bite onto it, and it become a snack for them, Also, another thing is having a healthy living cover crop. Like I've found like having that clover and things living on top just makes it so there's another food source other than your plant for insects to eat. And it'll also make it for other insects to come to it, so there'll be some some competition.
And that brings us to like the next part of this that I want to talk to you about. And well, one more thing about the pesticides. Do you worry about spraying that stuff like neem oil and stuff in bloom?
Yeah. So like usually like the reason why it's called IPM is because it's all you shouldn't have to use anything in bloom. You're preventing all this from happening the whole time, so that when you come to bloom, it should just be smooth sailing, And there's things that you can do, that like straight, which I don't do, like burn sulfur or something like that. I believe that it'll come onto your buds and it's gonna degrade your product. What I think with PM is you should just do better pheno hunting, and also better like IPM, and also foliar, like just better pruning. Like pruning is just like, if you're there every day, then usually shit doesn't go wrong, too much. It's like something has to develop over a few days for it to go wrong, So it's like for you to have, for you to have a priority on those plants, dude, it helps so much, especially when you're not mixing up chemicals and then giving it to them. The fact that you even have to dedicate time and the pH and do all that stuff, you could be searching for things that are going wrong or something like that, And my experience with visible powdery mildew, like you can spray it with like a diluted hydrogen peroxide. Usually I get it in like 30+%, and then dilute it in there, and then that'll kill it on contact. But you need to follow it up with something, to what I say is like put a sunscreen on after you wash everything off, because some people think that PM is a systemic and it'll always be in the plant. But also my experience with outdoor, you could take a plant dying of PM, straight, almost dead, and if you transplant it, and as long as the root system is still healthy enough for it to take on a new pot or take on into a new bed, then it'll promote growth, new vegetative growth that is unaffected by the mutagen. And then also the UV light will help literally kill the mutagen as new plant is growing. So there will be a time where you can take a cut of a freshly growing plant matter and then be able to re-sterilize that, and it'll be no PM. I've seen cuts that have been brought outside with PM brought indoor, and then now they're fine, because of that method.
Right.
And DJ Short actually says that a few things about that in his grow journals about how the UV light just kills PM outdoor and how you can just take fresh cuts like that.
So the UV light from the sun, you're saying?
Yep, the UV light in the sun. So around my area, June is the highest UV index. So if you're trying to fuck PM up and you have an indoor plant, then you should take all your plants out from indoor. And if you want to save them or something like that, then put them outside in June, transplant them all June. You'll veg them and you'll do shit to them to help them, and then take cuts off them and try and save them. Usually, like, people will just toss it, like, unless the genetics are very priceless or valuable or whatever.
And when I was looking at your Instagram most recently, I saw you're growing in what looks like a lot of fabric pots, and you're doing the no-till method with the cover on top. Can you explain to everybody, like the noobs, what that's about?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So you want to start with a base soil, and the base soil you can make in a few different ways. Like, you can do a ratio of 100 to 20, 25, 25, 50, or you could do 33, 33, 33. Of peat moss, compost to aeration, and your
aeration being like perlite.
You can use perlite, but in my opinion, probably the best two is hydroton and pumice. Pumice being the best, and then hydroton being the second best. And then you mix those three things together perfectly, and then you have base soil. And then what you add to that base soil is dry amendments. You do like I did Cladamus coots, a little bit of a modified Cladamus coots recipe, which is it's a half. You do a half cup to per cubic foot of base soil, and you add neem seed meal, kelp meal, crab meal, insect frass, gypsum, oyster shell flour, and then 2 cups of basalt. And then another thing that I added was a half cup of alfalfa meal. And once you mix that up, you let it cook for 6 to 9 weeks. You mix it all up, and you add you can add just water. I had added just water because I was lazy, but you can mix up a lactobacillic acid. You can mix up even a compost tea or fish emulsion. Fish emulsion will definitely help jumpstart it. And like what I was saying about that cooking, there's a lot of decomposition going on. So and a lot of the fungus, the mycelium, it gets very hot. So that's why you need to let it cook. There will be a phase of the plant where its root system knows that this decomposition is going on. It goes into a weakened state, but it literally bounces right back from it. But usually you just want to wait until that the temperature of the soil has gone down and the decomposition is starting to slow. But that means since the decomposition has been slowed, a lot of the available nutrients, is now plant available, and not in a different phase, in a different form. What I had done for so a 45-gallon pot is 1.5 cubic feet. For the first foot at the bottom, I had put base soil. I had put super soil, and I let that cook in those pots with nothing on top for about 5 weeks. And then I had what I had done recently is finally got base soil, the rest 0.5 feet in the rest of the 75 45s that I had. And then because you don't have to make your whole soil super soil, you don't have you can just make 3 to 6 inches at the bottom layer, fill the rest up with base soil, and then just leave that top, and then you can just do a top inch of super soil on the top. that's a no-till pot. You don't have to till that for its whole entire lifespan. Like you mix it up once. As long as you mix it up well enough the first time, all you got to do is top dress after that.
What is your crowd or your cover that you put on top?
Yeah, so like I had made sure that it was very aerated, and I actually added a little bit more pumice and hydroton on the top. But I have this 12 seed cover crop that's from Build a Soil. I maintain a living cover crop, and like what I was saying, when you have another food source, then insects literally won't even eat your cannabis. Especially if you're spraying your ganja with a foliar. It doesn't make it taste as good as things that aren't sprayed with a foliar, like your cover crop.
Oh, right, that's good thinking.
Yeah, so they'll eat that, and they'll literally just turn it into insect frass right on your topsoil, and it making plant available nutrients for you. But another thing about the living cover crop is that its root systems will help move macro and micronutrients around in the soil in that 45-gallon pot for the plant to use. So like if the ganja hasn't gotten down to it yet, and the cover crop is starting to get nutrients on the sides, it'll just bring it right to where it's needed. But you can kill that cover crop after it's gone to seed. So like you keep it alive, you let the flowers come, you let all those things turn to seed, and then you can just kill it, and put that mulch hay top layer on the top. One thing that's really crucial is not letting the sun, when you say like when you're doing selective weeding and there's some bad weeds, there's the grasses popping up, and then you take it and you crush it up, and then you put it on top of your soil. You don't want the sun to hit it directly. If you can have some hay or something or mulch that you can put on top of that, since it was just living and it's still green and stuff and it has a lot of nutrients still in it. If the sun were to just hit it directly, it would just bake that off, and it would turn to carbon quickly. If you had put that mulch layer on top, those plant available nutrients will, it'll stay wet for days, and then worms and mites and everything will come to it. And since it's like staying moist on the top layer. That's also, another thing about keeping a living mulch layer, or even just any kind of mulch layer. The sun isn't hitting your soil directly, so. Right. So like it promotes more root growth towards the top, and it keeps your top few inches at a cooler temperature to stay homogeneous and wet.
That's awesome, man. That's some next level shit. Like,
it's like you set it all up, like a few times, and then it just sets it, it's like smooth sailing after that. There's so many more.
Just one plant in a 45-gallon pot.
Yeah, exactly. So like I have like all those they're looking small. It's just, that's for my winter crop. All those will be done towards December, the end of December, and they'll be supplemented light all the way until, till the beginning of November,
And that's like you're saying winter crop, so he gave us a little bit of details before the podcast. Can you tell everybody about how you're going into your winter crop?
Yeah, so like all those plants are outside at the moment until they can be moved into my greenhouse. My greenhouse is getting its electrical done, but like you want to supplement light. Like we're getting into we have about 2 weeks left of veg, and it's starting to transition into flower naturally outdoor. We're getting about at the end of this month, we're about 14 hours of light, and then we'll get down to 13, and we won't even achieve a full 12 until November, I believe. But the reason why I'm supplementing light is to keep them in that vegetative state, So
you have lights in the greenhouse that you're going to use?
Yes, I'm gonna have 10,000 watt double endeds. And
oh damn, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah. So like it's gonna be filthy. Yeah. So and also like if it's a cloudy day, I'll turn those all 10 lights on and make the sun happen for them,
Yeah.
But like that shit with the winter crop, man, like you just got to make sure you're supplementing light properly. If it's starting to get too cold out, then you need to adequately heat them, because environment is so key, dude. Like we're just blessed when we come into season that Mother Nature gives us, the perfect season. But I'm definitely gonna have to have like potentially a propane heater. I don't need a dehumidifier. I'm gonna potentially need a humidifier for wintertime to add moisture to my greenhouse. and stuff like that. But it's going to be really cool for sure. And not many people grow on a geodesic dome. A lot of people are growing in traditional hoops and whatever the forever flowering companies are.
You got pictures of that up, right?
Yeah. I don't have too many pictures of the actual like Geodome. Like I will like a little bit further down the road, but like because of my area, just because of my area, not many people in my area.
And for the viewers watching, I don't know if you mentioned your Instagram yet. It's at BeastCoastFarmers. I'm looking at it right now. Are you strictly an outdoor grower now? Are you 100% outdoor, or are you?
So like, I'm moving towards that, man. Like I want all production outdoor. Like I can have a greenhouse where I can be propagating and vegging and mothering all that stuff, and then have a greenhouse where because it'll be continuously heated, all the time, no matter what the season. And but by all means, you can have, say cloning or mothers or veggies inside. But I'm moving towards no flowering indoor. I haven't been flowering indoor for like 2 years now, and it's been all outdoor. So,
nice. And how many plants do you typically run?
Indoor, like outdoor usually. Well, outdoor it's hundreds. It's usually in the hundreds.
Wow.
And like last season, I had done like 250, and they're all in varying size in pots and beds and at one location, and I had actually seeded every single one. Earlier last year, I was bringing my seed stock to Maine to trade with some growers, and they actually got taken by the police from me, so I lost like 5 years of breeding. And then shit, bro. So last year I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna chuck pollen everywhere, and so now I have seeds forever. But at the same time, dude, seed making, dude, it's like, you don't have to make F2s, F3s if you do it right the first time. Like I had pheno hunted like 2,000 seeds. So out of 2,000 seeds, I found 5 males that were insane. So I just let them hit the wind, And out of those 2,000 seeds, I found 250 females that were, very, very good. Like some of them it could be completely dry and they don't wilt. They just still prey, even though they're completely dry, and you can kick them over and shit. That's just from unique lignin structures and shit, dude. I think a lot of this, dude, like a lot of growing and is having a phenotype for your area, say like if I take some Southern Cali seeds and then take them to northern, like Maine or something, you'll have some adverse effects happen to for sure. Or if you take clones that were under sea level or above sea level and do vice versa, that's why people need to have acclimated strains and make their own, because making your own strains, they'll grow perfectly where you live, just by making a few generations of them.
So with hundreds and hundreds of plants that you're managing at a time, seems like a lot of work there. What advice do you have to people who are trying to do the same thing? What management advice?
Man, dude, I recommend just doing the organic route, like it's easy, like there's like less things I need to do for them, and the plant health is maintained, on a larger scale, if you were to give plants chems, you need to have every plant being wet the same way and then flushed or whatever. And also a lot more plant diseases and things can happen from that, So like I just recommend going down the organic route, not going the chems and having to water things in to achieve what you want, to final results and stuff.
Because you're just spraying them with a hose at this point, really, right? Like, are you watering with tap water, or do you have like a RO thing set up?
I don't even have RO, dude. Like I used to do RO, like I'm not working with city water, or anything like that, or chlorinated.
Yeah, got you.
I have 2 separate wells for both my locations, and like it's well water. The well water I'm pulling is my first one is 80 TDS, and the other one is 120, and
oh wow, that's low especially for well water.
Yeah, and what's in it is magnesium, calcium, small amounts of iron, silica, all shit that I'd be adding to it. It's pretty funny, And you even drink it or put it on your skin, it makes it soft from its mineral content. So like just from that, like giving that to bacteria or giving that to fungus, stimulates it. Watering is definitely a key though, man. Like I don't always just give them water. Like the more you give a plant, the better, the bigger it'll get in terms of teas, and brewing teas. But I can, by all means, I mix up soil that can just be sustained with just water beginning to end, like that Coots mix, like from the Cladden's Coots recipe.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's right on buildasoil.com too. Build-A-Soil is shit. I had spent a lot of dough on Build-A-Soil this season, even though I'll probably try and source some things on the East Coast and only have to order a few things from them next year. But by all means, like they're the shit. They give you free information, and the whole 9 yards.
What has been your biggest yield so far?
Too big?
Probably like 25, 30 pounds. Like that of Sensi,
Yeah, that's a record breaker for the podcast so far. I'm pretty sure.
And that's like at one time, and the money that I had spent, dude, to do that, like it's nothing, dude. It's like it's almost nothing. It's like the ounces and the pounds are the ounces are like pennies about with using organics and using the sun and shit like that.
So that was an outdoor grow, and then how many plants was it roughly?
That was off of like 80 plants.
Okay.
But usually, like I can yield off of one plant, I can go over, like 2.5, and bigger than that, it's all about the veg. It's all about filling in a screen, too. It's gonna be funny. Like this season is the biggest season that I've ever gone, and then like next season, even bigger and bigger. That's how it's always been. Like
when I look at your Instagram, like you talk about filling in a screen, you're not scrogging all these plants, are you?
No, but the ones that are going to go into the Geodome, that's going to be a scrog net completely. 500, like almost 531 square feet of scrog. And
oh wow,
yeah, and that's the canopy will be about 6.5, 7 feet tall. So you'll be on a step ladder, just looking at the canopy. It's going to be sick.
And you're going to so I noticed like you're doing like you're training the plants and pulling them down, like the branches down.
Yeah. Like, and I do that every day. I have the bamboo. I just found actually a local like bamboo spot to just go get mad bamboo and like start doing a lot more training. But I completely, you don't have to top your plants either. You can get auxin to be regulated just by bending the plant. Auxin is a growth hormone that is responsible for the elongation, and when you take off the apical meristem, it's like a shock to the plant, and it's I don't know, it can be beneficial, but by all means, if the plant is able to just be bent and then held down in that bent position, then you're achieving the same but better. You don't have to do any kind of stress like cutting the plant up. You're maintaining more growth matter.
Are there any books that you can like reference that you've learned this stuff from, or is it all just from like trial and error and the internet?
I've definitely I've been reading a few books like teaming with fungus, teaming with microbes, teaming with nutrients, mycelium running, but and a lot of trial and error, dude. Higher hybrid. I watched videos for so long, dude, and like I literally did a huge like 25 gallon, like a few 25 gallon DWC, RDWC all connected and shit, and replicated his style, and I love it. I still, to this day, I still love hydroponics and I still respect it, but I just won't go down that route again. It's just, it's too wasteful. You just, you don't think about where it goes down the drain. On a small scale, it doesn't matter. When you get to a larger scale and you're dealing with hundreds of plants, then you should think about what you're putting into the ground and then where that water's going and all that. Because anyone can just, spend money, on chems and then just spew them on anything, to make money or something like that. But that's not what it's about.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I agree with you there. And I agree that doing it large scale with chemicals is going to be, like, how are you going to be able to afford to do that? It's like,
yeah, by all means, like a small,
unless you did cheap.
You can spend $1,000 and get 10 grand back at you easily, over that, with, or whatever. it's funny how much it actually costs to make a pound with chems. It's not much money, but you're making waste. You have a lot of there isn't any kind of, you need to go back to the hydro store when you're done, and go get more nutrients.
For sure.
It'll pay it off, but that product isn't as superior. The growth hormone regulator and the PGRs and whatever, they do give you a bud structure that looks better than organically grown bud. But it won't smoke better. It's not going to be better for you in the whole 9 yards. The terpene content from organic and by using the sun, it's unmatched. You'll never be able to get the terpenes that you get from indoor. It's just that's just the way it is.
What was your biggest catastrophe in growing?
Definitely indoor. Powdery mildew indoor. I've gone through fighting the battle through flower.
Is that the third powdery mildew indoor we've heard?
It seems like almost every podcast powdery mildew is brought up.
Hey man, at least it's not like spider mites or some shit,
Yeah.
Definitely PM, dude. It's insane. What I think is just like powdery mildew for indoor, dude. It's if you even see that, dude, it's like catastrophic. Catastrophe.
Did it crush your yield or what?
Yeah. The fact that you see it, it's cutting your yield. You shouldn't fight the battle going into flower. If you seed and veg already, don't flower them. It's like cut everything, get new genetics. Don't accept genetics from somebody you don't really know very well, and then start from seed and start with a very sterile room. Sometimes doing that is the better option than fighting the battle. Anyone dealing with PM, dude, it's like you should really rethink about what you're doing, because it's just a battle not worth fighting. You should always be doing IPM, integrated pest management, so you'd never see that shit. You should have your a regiment that everyone has their own regiment that they do, and it's crucial. You can make a lactobacillic acid. It's very easy to make. You take rice wash water. So all you do is you take rice and you add some water and and then you mix it around, and then you strain out the rice, and then you add it to raw milk at a 1-to-10 ratio. So 1 part wash water, 10 part milk, and then you let that sit for 48 hours. And within 12 hours, within 24 hours, it'll already start separating cheese curd at the top, and then lactobacillic acid serum on the bottom. And you just take the cheese curd, you can make cheese out of it, and then that serum on the bottom is an IPM. You should spray lactobacillic acid on your plants almost every day. Or 3 times, 4 times a week or something.
I feel like people are going to get a lot of value out of hearing that.
No, for sure, dude. Yeah, and Korean natural farming is something that everyone needs to start doing for growing their food, growing for their ganja, and all that shit. Just the amount of money that it takes to make the end result, it's insane.
Just low, right? You're saying?
Yeah, insanely low, dude. For hundreds and hundreds of acres to adequately water that with, say, fermented plant juice would probably cost you maybe $50, if for 100 acres, for 300 acres.
Damn. Yeah.
And all you got to do is grow the plant matter.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Right.
Some of the smaller time people, I don't know if they're gonna be getting into it, the new growers, but
yeah, man. I mean, when I was a new grower, like I was saying, it's all about chems. So I was just looking into what company is doing, has the best prices and best results and everything.
Super easy to get to walk into a grocery store.
Yep.
The first time I walked into a grocery store, I bought a lot more than I needed.
I know, and I'm sure they had a smile on their face.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing about going in the grow shop and looking at a magazine.
Yeah.
Is they're gonna try to convince you that you need to use as many bottles of nutrients as possible, regardless of the company. I mean, they're all there to make money.
Yep.
And so
exactly.
There's a reason there's 10-part systems and not 3-part systems.
You'll see the organics side, and it'll just be a little, there'll be a little section you can go into, and everything else is chems, everything, chems everywhere. And I'm sure the people in there won't bring up anything about organics or whatever unless you ask or unless you're looking for it,
Right, because the margins aren't going to be as good they're not going to make as much money selling you organic stuff. And on top of that, like the marketing that these companies are doing, it's pretty cool. Like you go in there and you look at all the nutrient bottles, like they'll make a bottle of salt look cool.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Right. And it's and everything's just, got the same shit in it and in different quantities and whatever else.
For sure. It's easy to get lost in there.
Yeah. And to say that it's, it's tested or it's commercially, it's used like advanced nutrients. I was like contacted by the like East Coast advanced nutrient guy, and he's like, oh, you should start using a commercial nutrient or something like that. I'm just like, I always just delete that. The years, when I was younger, like I had poured chems right on an organic garden, like general hydroponics, and I had yielded more than I would have yielded, but I had hurt that ground, and then it would need time to repair itself, and for those salts to fully leach off and drain off and for whatever else. But like I saw like what the effects are since I've lived in the same place. And that's another thing. I actually have not moved my whole, I've moved one time from when I was in third grade to where I am now, and I haven't moved, and I've grown bud here my whole life. So like, that's the reason why, I'm pretty good at growing where I live, and especially
you take care of your shit.
Yeah. Yep. And I've noticed since I've been doing since I've gone the straight organic route, and I've seen life come to my land. There's more worms in my bed. There's dragonflies everywhere. There's mantis. There's ladybugs. Everything. Before it wasn't like that. Like the soil wasn't as fertile. And when you start doing organics and you start getting better at it, you promote life and you promote shit to come to your shit to work for you. Basically.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
So having the knowledge that you have now, if you can go back in time and talk to yourself before you started growing, what advice would you give to yourself?
Just go the living soil route. Fuck hydro, fuck chemicals. Like, dude, it's funny how my mindset's changed, dude. Like, it's funny to think about. I say that to myself a lot. Is if I knew what I know now, but back then, I wish I could go back in time and talk to myself.
Don't we all, bro? Don't we all?
I'd be like, don't spend all your money on food every day. Or
What's upcoming for you? Are you working on any projects in the industry or anything like that?
I do have my geodesic dome, so that's gonna be dope. I'll be able to push out a good portion of organically grown bud every like 3 to 4 months. But another thing that I'm doing in Massachusetts, there's a large dispensary that's going there. I will be growing for them with a good friend of mine, and we only need 6 people to run the whole 50,000 square feet. So and that's going to be grown with chems. But I know I'm confident in my abilities that chem grown bud's going to be dank. Dude,
I gotta drive out there, man. That's not that far of a drive.
Yeah, for sure. Like in Massachusetts, there's a lot of hurdles you got to go through. You can't grow straight organics in commercially for Massachusetts, at least. There's too many standards. The heavy metals, and a lot of other things. It's just, and also mold and things like that. Like if you have a living soil and you have mushroom sporulating in your indoor environment, you'll have mutanogen on it, and it'll spark your and it won't pass, or something like that. So
yeah, I got you.
You gotta grow with water and rock wool and cocoa and all that, and then flush it, and then that's just the way it's gonna be for right now. But
yeah, tons of people do it and they succeed. And
Ori grown, I really admire his way that he's doing his dispensary. I'm sure Oregon has the high standards as well. I'm pretty sure Massachusetts has the highest standard in the whole country, which kind of makes it harder to make a product to put it on the shelves. But in my opinion, that's cool because all of the patients will be getting a higher quality product. But what he does is he takes Pro Mix, just straight Pro Mix, and he uses Dragonfly Earth Medicine, which is an organic water soluble nutrient, and that's it. So all he uses is those 2 things, and he's not using any kind of chemical. his byproduct is 3 gallons of Promix, which he piles up, hundreds of those 3 gallons and piles them up and then uses it for outdoor organic use, instead of using rock wool, which takes like 4,000 years to decompose and it's glass and
And I've seen his Instagram. His shit's definitely legit. I might have even reached out to him, but
I don't down anyone that grows indoors with chems just because of how sterile you need to be and how careful you need to be with indoor.
And all you guys, I mean, Mr. Grow It, like everybody who has a YouTube channel or an Instagram that's just sharing their knowledge and information, like you guys aren't really getting much out of doing that. Like you're doing it for the love of the industry. Like maybe some people are making money now, but after they've like grown a bit. But like when you start doing that and you don't have any subscribers or like all these people are just doing it to share information and help the industry. And so
I definitely cool. Like a lot of my shit that I've learned has definitely come from my own trial and error. But like I've definitely talked to the right people, and Instagram has definitely helped me like tremendously, meeting people, and seeing and coming to this final consensus of how I grow now. Like putting information out there, dude, it's not a secret, especially with growing bud, it's not secret. And people shouldn't have to hide their methods. They should just, give it to everybody.
Right.
Which is pretty funny to think about how there was this like Colorado grower. He was like his company wanted to like fire him and take his notebook. And like they never got his notebook and he just left, but pretty funny how they think
they need it.
Yeah, if they get that method, then they don't need the person doing it. It's funny.
Which is totally wrong.
Yeah, totally wrong, dude. It's like the captain steering that ship,
Right.
Where can people find you? What shout outs do you have?
Contact me on Instagram for now. My YouTube is definitely up and coming. I have a homie that's been helping me film, and we've compiled a lot of film, so we just got to do editing.
Well, I think we're ready to wrap it up, man.
Yeah, ready to wrap it up. Thanks a lot for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. No, I really appreciate you guys having me.
All right. Have a good one. Take care.
Yeah,
thanks again, brother.
Take it easy, guys.
If you click the video on the left, that'll take you to the other podcast episodes that we did, and the video on the right is automatically generated by the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, peace.